County. Bonnie.
Bonnie Ashley, General Counsel.
Dan Schmidt, Henrico County.
Lincoln's Honor City of Richmond.
Who am I? Jessica Johnson.
Ellen Robertson.
Jim Engel, Chesterfield County.
Mark Smith, Chesterfield.
Todd Garrett, Henrico.
Cheryl Adams, GRTC.
Andres Addison, Richmond, Virginia.
Back. Thank you.
Monica Carter, GRTC.
Ken Lane, on RPA.
Tony Thompson, GRTC. Sharika Ruffin, RideFinders.
Mark Renee, GRTC.
Jan Swift, GRTC.
Dexter, GRTC.
Joe Dillard, GRTC.
Johnson, GRTC.
All right, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you.
Morning.
Do we have any public comments?
Didn't receive
All right. Moving on to the approval of the April 16th, 2024 board meeting minutes. Is there a motion? And first of all, anyone have any questions about it? If not, is there a motion to accept it?
Second.
All right, motion has been made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, consent agenda had A&E services, construction services, interior cleaning services, microtransit vans, drug and alcohol policy. I assume all the staff persons who could speak to this are here. Anybody have any questions about anything on the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair, I have two, if I may.
Okay.
Just one question on the first one, Cheryl. The 10,000 to 80 million is just a really wide range. So can someone just give us a quick update of what the plan is? The 80 million cap is that's a big number over 5 years. So have you spent that before on architectural design?
Yeah, so that's a range of projects, which is on call. We have one already, contract in place, so that is another, consider some key things unpacking. There was an extension of states for South DRT, whatever we end up doing, bottom of here, parking lot, just so we have a
So it's a 5-year deal and still board approval for spending over, what's the number for board approval? 100. So that's just saying, so it's not to exceed 80, but it's not spent though.
No, just a project dependent, we bring the project.
That's awesome. Thank you. Mr. Chair, the other one was the painting. It's the same thing, 10,000 to 600 grand, same thing, same idea. 600 grand's a lot to paint, so I was curious if that was the same answer. It's a range or? I'll come and help paint.
It's based on the project manager's process, and we know that we're going to spend the 10,000, so we're guaranteeing the contractor that amount.
Yeah. And the same thing, we'd come back with a procurement item and gotcha. Awesome. Mr. Chair, that's all. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, can we get a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we got two operation updates. Tim Barham is up first with the operational performance, and then ridership performance is up after that.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. We presented the operations report, starting on page 26 of your board packet. Operationally, starting with transportation, pretty much the stats are remaining steady, and we're currently at 318 as of last month. In the last month, 318 full-time and 27 part-time operators. Continuing to recruit and hire. We've had steady group of classes coming in over the last several weeks. This month, for example, we have a class every week scheduled, 2 fixed route classes, and our first 2 microtransit classes started this month. We have a total of 19 microtransit operators training for that service. Right now, we have the fixed route operators working that service, but we'll have a dedicated division starting June 30th with our next booking. So we're really excited about that and continuing to basically stay on top of attrition by hiring as needed for, like I said, at least one class on the fixed route side every month, just to maintain it so we don't get too much. We're in a pretty good spot right now as far as staffing goes. And as of today, we're at 321 full-time operators with 7 operators in training on the fixed route side with another class starting next Monday. As far as the next category, which is safety and performance levels there, we have seen fewer traffic accidents, incidents, and so forth. Continue to monitor the service, with our trainers, our supervisors, myself, going out into the service area, making sure that we're addressing some of those critical issues like passed up passengers, traffic accidents in general. Fixed objects seem to be one of the target areas that we're working on as well. And in the next category, maintenance, dipped a little bit in terms of the PMs. We were 79%, our target is 80%. So, got a little work to do there, but otherwise everything else is holding steady. We're 1 mechanic short. Hopefully we'll get that in the field here shortly. And as far as the customer service calls go, we've had a slight decrease in the number of customer complaints as well. Still focusing on passed up passengers, late service, and so forth, making sure that we're working with the operators to address those issues accordingly. Had 6 commendations this past month, most of them from the call center staff, giving compliments on how they interact with the customers via the telephone. And the other areas, specialized transportation, they're meeting their target, 92% on-time performance. They're continuing to work on their staffing levels as well. I think they finished last month, they were not said, 7 full-time operators, 10 part-time operators. They give both about 96 full-time operators, so we're getting close to that target as well on the fair transit side, as that service is managing up to the acceptable levels. Microtransit, continue to see an increase in that service as well. Call volumes up around 1,600 calls per month, and we think we had like an average of about 1 complaint a month, give or take, on the microtransit side. But we're gearing up for that new service as we go into the Verona area, and then down the road expanding in other areas as well. Unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
All right, questions? All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Wilson, for stepping up for Frank today.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Dr. Megadakwa is unable to be here today, so I'll be filling in his place. This is our April ridership performance review. The quick agenda is we're breaking down the ridership by route category, looking at our 2 extensions as well, then link microtransit's performance and our newest zone launch. I'm going to hit the highs and lows of these, so if you have any questions, first up is just our pulse. So it's 2.8% from month over month, being March to April, and 14% from last year. Our arterials, we have R1A and R19 as our extensions. Both of those are kind of starting to mellow out month over month, so seeing a slight increase, but year over year it's hitting some really great numbers. The 1C down slightly, there was one less Saturday, the 3C down slightly, there was one less Saturday out of the month, and that is an evening and Saturday functioning route. 1C down slightly month over month, but still hitting that year over year.
Question real quick. Just because some of the numbers are really significantly increased, I was just curious, I don't need it on this chart, but it'd be interesting to know, is that either direction, both directions? Are we seeing the increase, is it equally distributed east and west, or whichever way the route is going in terms of that increase? I'm just curious to see if it's what kind of traffic we're seeing in certain areas. That makes sense?
Yeah, I haven't broken it down by like route direction here.
No, I know. I just, because I've seen this 50% increase. I'm like, that's fascinating. I'm just curious, is it equally distributed across east and west? That's all.
Yeah, they do kind of correlate to some of our service updates as well. So we were seeing that like trend month over month, around 7-ish, 6-ish%. But the ones that are really starting to highlight are Route 1, because we changed that model from last year. And in the 1A, we've got extension, the 1C and 1B, we also kind of changed that model from to the truncated service from Southside Plaza. And then our 5s are always pretty popular, but we did have a service increase on those as well. So it's more available to students and to VCU patrons. And then the 7A and B are kind of slated for a frequency increase in October because they are doing so well, kind of continuously. And then same thing, our 19, we had our 2-mile extension and frequency increase. So we're seeing a lot more traffic on that route. And then speaking of our 1A, the 1A was our 12.65 mile extension. We're seeing about a 1% increase in ridership month over month, but that's because it's hitting 32% of the total ridership for March and 33% of the route's total ridership for April. 19 is our 2-mile extension, and we're seeing it account for about 2% of total ridership for that route as well. Our community radials are kind of still following that same trend. We're seeing an increase month over month, but a substantial increase year over year. 78 being one of our biggest, followed by our 20. Our 4A and B here both have substantial year over year increases, and you'll remember in the January booking we absorbed that Route 13 service into those. So a lot more people are having a connection from Churchill to Fulton. We're also seeing an increase in our 18, and a slight downward trend year over year in our 88. That is our limited service to Philip Morris, and that kind of follows its trend. It fluctuates a little bit year over year. Our express routes, the 64 is down slightly year over year. The rest are starting to have that about 27-28% increase year over year as more companies go back to having less work from home employees and more people are using our parking rides and going downtown. But we are still tracking the max load on our express routes to make sure when if more services needed to accommodate. Next up is our Link Micro Transit. So we have our 4 zones: Azalea, Cloverdale, Ashland, and Powhatan. Our overall productivity, our total ridership for all zones combined is 3,775 for the month of April, broken down to an average daily ridership of 114 for Ashland, 114 for Azalea, 43 for Ashland, 6 for Cloverdale. And then we have our monthly trips and our shared versus unshared trips. So our standard is that 30% of trips should be shared with this model. And we are hitting that with our mature zone. So Azalea started out the same way that we're seeing for Cloverdale and Ashland, and that's really high unshared trips in the beginning while it gains momentum and gains popularity. And then Azalea's shifted and is now hitting that 30% shared trips. So we do expect Cloverdale and Ashland to follow suit, starting off really high in unshared trips and kind of down. Our wait time, the standard is to keep it under 20 minutes or less for 8% of our trips. Our averages are Azalea 16, Cloverdale 11, and Ashland 10, so we are meeting that metric. Our trip booking method here is agent if they're calling in, or mobile if they're using their cell phone. So still a high demand for the app-based. A lot of people, majority of people are using an app, but still a decent percentage who just prefer to call in and talk to an operator. our pickup and drop-offs. So these are our hotspots, point of interest for our microtransit zones. You can see the month over month on the graph. Azalea is our most mature zone since it started in November. Our top three are our Brook Hill Shopping Center, and that of course has the connections to fixed routes. So that's Route 1 and 14. Our Amazon Fulfillment Center and Richfield and Village at the Arbors, which are two apartment complexes that were previously serviced by the 93. So they're still picking up service through microtransit and getting where they need to go. We're going to look at Cloverdale and Ashland. Of course, these just started in March, so there's a little less data here, but it's just kind of keeping an eye on where the hotspots are, where the best staging locations are for our vehicles. So Chippenham Mall, Chesterfield Crossing, and Kroger are coming up as the three top locations for Cloverdale. And then our Ashland zone is the Ashlandwood Omni Park, Ashland Hanover Shopping Center, and downtown Ashland. So we're seeing a lot more spread in some of the other zones. This one tends to be very, very centered in the middle of Ashland. And next up, we have our launch. So GRTC representatives met with DRPT and Powhatan Chair Steve McClung and others to celebrate our Link Microtransit launch on May 6th. So just a few pictures here. This is our fourth microtransit zone and the first time that Powhatan has offered GRTC service. So very excited to share that with you guys.
A lot of information. Questions? Thank you so much for stepping in. We appreciate it. All right, budget is up next. This is the vote, right? I know as we're waiting on John to come up, he took us through the budget extensively with the finance committee, so more than half of us probably were there.
Mr. Chair and members of the board, as the chairman said, we met last Thursday afternoon in the finance committee and went through that, as well as I know that Janice had circulated on May 6th the proposed draft budget book to the entire. So I'm going to kind of go through just some of the key drivers, and then if there's any questions, please feel free to specifically address those. So right up here in the beginning here of the PowerPoint slide, this basically kind of just goes through the projected, the key items in the collective bargaining unit contract that are germane. As you're aware, we entered a new collective bargaining unit contract October 1st, 2023. So the hourly rates are set in that contract. So basically, for the blended full year wage rate is about a 9.2% increase per hour for the union. The next big bullet point here you see is the projected staffing levels for transportation. The proposed 2025 budget has 325 fixed route operators with 30 microtransit operators. You can see the comparison to the prior year. 22 part-time versus 26. So we're budgeting 366 full-time equivalents versus 313. So the wage is about 25.3 million versus 21.33. So it's about a 3.97 million increase, or about 18. Next is the maintenance group here. So two things occurred here. We have our vehicle maintenance facility here, which we're budgeting 52 mechanics versus the prior year 20. It's an increase of 2 trainees. So the wages are going up for about 4 million to 4 million from 3.6 million, 437,000 increase for 12.5%. Additionally, just to call out here is that in the course of preparing the budget, our facility maintenance, the existing shelter cleaners voted to become members of the union, so that's reflected in here now. And it is, there's about $286,000 of wages, including the 2 shelter operators here. The non-CBU headcount, there's an increase of 11 positions, 7 full-time, 4 part-time from the 2024. As you can see here, there's a lot of interns here. So for the admin piece, it's baked in as a 3% wage increase. So 10.71 million in wages over 9.42, it's an increase of 1.29 or 13.69. This is full year effect. There's a lot of vacant positions that's you recall from the briefing. This is assuming that they're filled. From the other aspects here, we're reflecting continued participation in Virginia Transit liability pool. We do see some increases in our expenses from there, increasing revenue miles, increasing operators. It has a tendency to increase the rates for some of these, as well as instances and accidents. And we're going to have in this budget is continued investment in GRTC work. So you saw the staffing levels. So the staffing levels are put together to achieve this. So what we have here is we're contemplating a little over 7.1 million revenue miles, an increase of about 1 million revenue miles, or 16%. Increase about 68,000 revenue hours, or about 12.36. So the budget is predicated to cover this. So that's where you see the growth. We had talked previously, I know that at the January board, we had adopted the medical plan, so there was about a 7.5% increase. 65% of our operating expenses is employee wages and benefits. So benefits here was a large increase of 7.5%, market driven. Unfortunately, we are not our claims data is not the healthiest, so therefore we were able to negotiate down to 7.5%, but we better in wellness. So coming here on the draft operating expenses, as you look at this, is broken out into 2 pieces. We have a baseline budget, which is our normal operations, and then we have what the column is the grant funded projects for. So you can see from our baseline budget from 24 was 74 million. We're increasing about 10 million to 84 million. On the grant funded projects, 7.7 million down slightly to 6.3. That's just the timing of them. So overall, 90.4 million versus 81.9. And you look at that and you say that's a sizable increase. But when you look at it in the perspective of what we just talked about, from a functional basis, the operations, the increase of 5.8 million, 4.4 million of that is salaries, as well as purchase transportation. You know, that in some of the briefings we talked about, purchase transportation is unfavorable, so we've adjusted it to the demand. Maintenance as well, the increase about 255,000, 700,000 in salaries, offset by some reductions in C&G and part supply, vehicles, less maintenance parts, price of C&G we have. As you can see, also the benefit lines has, as we talked about, has an increase of 1.9 million. We talked about the health insurance increase of 7.5%, and then as we're bringing more folks forward, paying more for pension expense. So that's what's driving it. 10 million in benefits, about 900,000 for health insurance and pension expense of 900,000. Insurance and safety increase of 350,000 roughly. Premiums, business general, increasing our provision as well as workers' comp. Workers' comp is basically not a rate increase, it's a volume. For employees, pay more. Business liability, the business general, the market had been soft, it's hardening a little bit. We're increasing the provision, more new operators on the street, more operators, more chances of interactions for potential below the CERB level. Planning and scheduling, 225, basically wages in and increase for printing of timetables. The planning and scheduling grant funded demo, as you can see there, the 5.85 million. These are the actual awards that we received at the RBT effective April 2024, and this includes the downtown transfer NEPO to 0 to 30% for 3 million, the north-south BRT environmental clearance and conceptual design study for 1 million, as well as a western BRT extension for 1.4 million, and then some technical assistance projects for paratransit operations analysis, 150,000, as well as technical assistance for fleet storage NEPO, that's 30% for 300,000. Communications line, communications and marketing, we see a decrease about 140,000. That's basically reduction in advertising. As you're aware, we were launching the microtransit program as well as the 1A extension. So we're still having the microtransit, but reduction for the 1A advertising. The 500,000 here in the marketing, that is basically the GRTC funded advertising for microtransit. Information technologies increases a little to 500,000, about 270,000 is wages. That is investing in our business analyst folks in order to support our ERP functions, as well as increase in software license. Refreshing the footprint of the administrative increase of 470,000. That's generated by the salary support. Operating taxes and licenses increased $500,000. That's your fight, and that's a function of headcount. So that's kind of the snapshot of the increases. Going over to the revenue side, the key assumption here is that zero fares continue throughout fiscal 2025, and to provide funding, the assumption here is the GRTC zero fare grant for $4.56 million that's in here. We secured the additional $3.56 million to support this for this year. We have $1.2 million of returning VCU matching contribution, and the remaining $1.04 million is in addition, DRPT, the operating contribution is set at $20.27 million. That's basically we're at the ceiling of the max of our formulas. And CBTA, the operating contributions is $24.5 million and is supporting capital local share match of $972,000. For the operating contributions for 3 municipalities, as you're aware, it's governed by the CBTA statute and the CPIU. We go February to February. The final number was 3.15%, excuse me, which resulted in an increase in operating contributions above that percent. The increase of operating contributions is about $425,000. Included is the calculations as well as the CPIU. Also included in here is the sponsorship revenue, naming sponsorships, partner programs, $100,000, as well as it's contemplating the use of FTA 5307 flex funds for PM, about $3.6 million, and to support the ADA cost of contracting, $1.38 million. And any surplus from fiscal 25 budget is contemplated to be operating reserve. So this here, I kind of read off some of the from the expense side, but this is the actual DRPT funding that are baked into this budget. It's the sizable amounts in here, as well as the local basic operating and capital projects. So when you look at it and roll up your balanced budget, you can see 90.37 million, 17,062 is on the grant funded. So the base operations slightly down just by the characterization of there, 74.2 down to 73.3, but it contemplates all that we talked about as the drivers. So what we have put forth is a resolution here to basically for the board to adopt the spending as well as adopt the framework that GRTC will remain fare-free through 2025. Also in the back of the budget book, as well as on the bottom part of the resolution, is our proposed fiscal 2025 capital plan, supported by the DRPT grants that we show that are outlined on the prior page here. And so in that, the safety and regulatory category is about 1.8 million, state of good repair 26 million, business improvements 1.9 million, service enhancement projects 2.9 million, expansion 13.3. In the back of the budget book is a really good short narrative write up of each and every one of these projects. So that I'm going to
Thank you. Colleagues, do you have any questions? What's the total budget amount number again?
We've got $90.37 million. Combined baseline as well as.
Yes.
I just want to really appreciate the hard work for getting all the grants. It's pretty amazing that you guys have been able to secure the additional funding from outside sources that helps support zero fare and a lot of new service. So that's great.
Add that was because of Adrian being a mayor going after it. She would not accept no for an answer, so we can appreciate
Adrian.
that. Yes.
Thank you, man. Yep. Sounds like we have a plan before us. Anybody want to do the honors of making a motion to accept the proposed budget?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right, moved and second by a couple of people. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, John, for your hard work and pulling this together. And we move forward with a plan, so we're excited about it. All right, do you have anything you want to add to that, Mr. Engel?
No, we went over the March financials and they're all continue to look good and we should end the year in a good position. So, and then everything else we just went over. So.
Madam CEO, do you have anything?
Good morning. Two brief things. I am pleased to announce that we have filled our Chief Operating Officer position with Mr. Kevin Hernandez. Kevin comes to us from Prince George's County, where he was overseeing paratransit, microtransit, as well as their fixed route operations there. And prior to that, he was with Dash Alexandria, where he was their director of operations. So we're pleased to have him on board, and we look forward to new and exciting things to come. And the other thing I had is our Employee of the Month. We do have one of the Employees of the Month with us, Mr. Robert, who's sitting behind the pillar there. We can't see him. He's one of our trainers and was a bus operator prior to that. And the other Employee of the Month is Ms. Portia Cooper, who is our storeroom clerk. She's responsible for ensuring that we have parts and supplies, and she couldn't make it. So,
You wanna step up from behind the poles?
And the last thing I have is I'm getting ready to send the split letter to Petersburg, and we shouldn't have any issues because we do have an MOU. But hopefully that will be signed and we'll send it to FTA and get our money.
We want to thank them for that.
Yes, yes, absolutely, we do.
I criticized them loudly. I will thank them loudly.
Yes, we are very appreciative.
All right, thank you, ma'am. We do have, we are sending or we sent?
Sending.
All right, we are sending scorecard that we want you to use for the evaluation that we've been talking about for the CEO. So you should have it in your email soon, today. And we want you to individually fill it out. Bring it back. Yes. We will discuss in June. Please complete it so that we will discuss it. We're able to go into closed session and discuss it and then set priorities going forward for the next 6 months. So Joe or Barb, either one of you want to add anything to what I just said?
Sure, yeah. The form that you'll get is to set a performance plan for the next 6 months. So we're picking from June 1st to the end of the year for goals and metrics that we'll use in the evaluation in January. And then in January, we'll set the performance plan for the full 2025. So we're just catching up, doing half a year of performance planning, followed with an evaluation in January.
This is like a test format, you know. I mean, this is our first time really kind of, hopefully the mechanism will hold up over the test of time and we don't have to go searching and asking and all of that, so.
But if you have suggestions on the form or, you know, anything, it's our first go round, so we'll take some input on that too.
Right.
Refine as we go.
All right, so we good with that? All right, colleagues, any other business? All right, we adjourn.
That's amazing.